What's up, guys? It's Captain Cook. Welcome back. We are in episode, I want to say 9, maybe episode 10. I'm going to double check that. Probably should know that, but it's okay. And today, guys, I have a very, very, very special guest. I have my friend Mike from All the Food is All for Me, one of the best pages that have come around. He's had crazy growth recently. He's got a great show on there. And we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk a bit about food, about alcohol, about life and 2020. And yeah, so Mike, welcome, by the way.
Thanks.
So do a little intro, tell the people, who you are, what the page is about, stuff like that. And
Sure, yeah. Well, firstly, thanks for having me on. I appreciate that. You're always a delight to talk to. So yeah, my name's Mike Valarelli, and I have a page called All the Food is All for Me. And basically it started as my personal Instagram, and I kind of realized that there's some sirens in the background. I realized that I was posting more sandwiches than I was of anything else. And I figured, hey, why not just make it a full-blown, food Instagram page? And I just kind of went with it. And yeah, that's kind of what it's turned into: food and some family stuff, but mostly pizza, sandwiches, and tacos.
well, I think it's kind of cool too, because I do like the pages that do blend together like a little bit of like personal stuff with what's going on, because it kind of like rounds you out like as a person. Like it's always nice to see those those pages that have just like strictly whatever. But even some of the food Instagrams that I follow that have like a couple million subscribers, they always sprinkle it a little bit about like their family or what they're doing or like activities. It's more about making it all well rounded. So that I've always liked that aspect of it, which is cool. And yeah,
Thanks.
I mean, so I know, when was your first actual, like, when did you really start exclusively just posting, like, that's it, I'm just going to post mainly like food content, you know?
I think, ironically enough, it was actually right around the time my daughter was born,
So it's
which
like
makes
3 years ago,
like
right?
4 years ago.
4 years
Yeah,
ago. Okay.
which doesn't make a lot of sense. But basically, I have a friend who, said to me one day, he's like, Mike, why don't you just make your page like full blown food blog? Just do it. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, people don't really like the pictures that I post it right now, so I don't know how good of an idea that is. But I just said, hey, what the hell? I'll just do it. And I did it, and it started to kind of, blossom a little bit, and people started following me and asking me questions and stuff. So yeah, I did like sandwich reviews, and I just kind of, I kept doing it, and regardless of what anybody told me at that point.
And I think what was cool is when, before MikeTails, which we'll get into, and before you had a lot of growth with your following, which was awesome recently. I'll get into that too. But
Thanks, man.
before any of that, even, you still posted these great reviews, and it was for like, even just like, you did like a Popeyes chicken sandwich, you did like the Cheez It, like you know what I mean. You did, what was it, like the Cheez It?
Various Cheez-Its.
Yeah, no, it was like a Cheez It. What was it, like
The
a cheese?
snapped.
Yeah, the snapped, and then there
Oh
was
no,
like a,
the Pizza Hut Cheez-It
there
thing.
you go, the Pizza Hut cheese.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, like, you don't see too many Instagrams that do reviews of like fast food like that, like, that much. Which is, in a way, though, it was good. I mean, that was the reason I tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich, which
Wow.
was good. I just I think the one that I got, though, was a little bit soggy, and it was kind of,
Yeah.
and I love Popeyes, but I ate that and I was kind of like, I feel like I could make a version of this that's just like, like just
Yeah.
um
It's easy to get in the heat of the moment of the buzz of those things too when you're
yes.
reviewing them.
Well, that's what I mean, because I was, you think about the lines down the block and people were waiting for it, and I
Yeah.
had this all built up in my mind, and I ate it, and I was like, yeah, like,
It's
I was like,
fine.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay, it's good, which is, which was fine, but no, I always liked those reviews, which was great.
Thanks,
So
man.
was all right. So it was more like a transition. I guess one of my questions was like, was there like a single meal? I asked this to a couple people. Like, was there like a
Mhm.
meal where you were just like, fuck, like I need to post this. Like, even if before you decided to go all food, like, was there something where you were just like, I need to take a picture of this? Like,
I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I remember my earliest memory of posting something that I really freaked out about, and it was such a bad photo. Um, it was pizza at Lucali in Brooklyn,
okay,
which I don't know if you've been, but
no, I
in
haven't.
my opinion, Lucali is just like my favorite pizza that I've ever had. Probably even I've been to Italy, and like no disrespect to Italy, but it was just I took a really shitty picture of this pizza, and I feel like my caption kind of maybe made up for it, but that was like the first time I posted something where I was like, shit, I believe in this, like
Right, exactly.
and that was maybe like six years ago.
Okay.
But that was before all this, but like, I guess like the video reviews kind of, for me, like just freely talking about something like a Popeye's chicken sandwich or something from Pizza Hut.
Right.
You know, I could be passionate about shit like that. I don't really care. You know what I mean? And
Which is good though. I mean, you should be passionate about it. Like no one wants to see you eat something from pizza and be like, yeah, it's good. It's just like, it's like, even if you hate it, people want to see you like, give a shit about what you're, shoving into your mouth.
Yeah, I guess on the flip side, people were like, "Really, you were that passionate about the Popeyes? Like Popeyes?
You know
Like
what?
it was really that good?"
I'd rather be passionate about, only Popeyes than just, completely blasé about everything.
I agree.
So how did this tie into, so you did this for a while. You were at the time, until earlier this year, I think, right? You were working for a gourmet food company. Is that right? Um,
Yes.
So I don't know. Just tell me a little bit. Like, well, first of all, what did you do there, if you don't mind talking about it? And then,
Sure.
like, did that like help at all with like, did you get like a better appreciation for food? How did that?
Yeah. Well, I basically have been working in the food industry for the last like, I guess like 8 years from the top to from the bottom to the top, rather. Basically, I started working in restaurants, and then by the time I met my now wife, I developed into working for like food-based companies, whether it be distributors or purveyors. And most recently, I was working for a company called Albert Ooster Imports, AUI Fine Foods, doing like sales, basically sales consulting, selling pastry ingredients, like specialty pastry ingredients. So I was working a lot with restaurateurs, chefs, F&B managers at hotels, things of that nature. And then most recently from there, I was working for a company called Gourmet Foods International, which is another like specialty food company. They have a lot of cheese and stuff like that. So I was able to just like, go and see chefs, say hello to them, kind of become friends with these chefs. A lot of really world-renowned chefs too. Like work was not work to me. I would, I leave my house and go and visit somebody at like Le Bernardin and the Mandarin Hotel and just walk into the kitchen and they'd be like, "Hey, Mike." And it was just such a pleasure to be able to do it. And then having my Instagram page, I think for the most part, like helped matters because those chefs would follow me on Instagram and, like whatever I was posting for the most part. Sometimes I think the people that I was working for maybe got a little bit, weary of it, but, I did it on my off hours for the most part. So.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not like you were interrupting the day to do it, but I mean that's the
Sometimes.
ideal. That's the ideal situation that you want to be in, though. I mean, you want to not feel like you're working, right? I mean, that's what everyone wants. Is like anything is hard work, but you don't necessarily want to feel like you're stuck there. You know what I mean? Like you want to feel like you're passionate about what you're doing, which a lot of us don't get the opportunity to do that. So that's
I never did until I started working for AUI. I mean, that was really. It was such a gift, and in hindsight, I actually left that company for GFI,
right?
And it was just a great experience overall. I kind of felt at the time that I was doing it that it was too good to be true for some reason, because a lot of people got laid off, a lot of people, because of this whole thing that's been going on the last year.
Exactly.
And so, but definitely a real pleasure.
Well, and you would develop the page, and that led into what I want to go over next is MikeTails. All right. So for those of you who don't know, MikeTails is a live Instagram show that Mike hosts, and I was on a few of the earlier episodes.
Like first guest, pretty much.
I think, one of them. And it's kind of cool. You agree ahead of time on the alcohol that you're going to use. You bring somebody on. You make cocktails. You talk. It's usually anywhere between 40 minutes and an hour, right, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's a great concept. It's really, really cool. And
thanks.
I mean, you went pretty recently too. You're following like boosted up. I mean, you're at like about 2130 just about like now, like followers, which was up from like what it was. And
like
I don't know,
30 followers. Yeah.
The thing is, like, I found it cool because like, was it the consistent, like, did you find comfort in the consistency of like knowing, all right, I'm going to do a weekly show, and it's kind of like it's like a staple now, instead of just, because I feel like some food pages just go out there and are just fishing for content all the time. And is it kind of like better to know, like, yeah, you're going to post food in between, you still consistently do, but you've got this like weekly staple, you know what I mean, that pretty much you're going to record for the exception of, off things here and there. Like, is that like comforting, or do you feel like that's like, shit, I have to record this way? I got to, you know what I mean?
It's really comforting. I mean, thanks, for all the nice things you said about it. It started as something that was kind of a joke, like, and actually a friend of mine, again, like this is all coming from like friends, but I have no original ideas. No, I'm kidding. But a friend of mine saw one of the videos that I did of me making a drink, and she was like, you should really like develop that into something, because it was really fun to watch. And I was like, oh, because I don't really believe anything nice that anybody says about me ever, but sometimes I do. But so I basically, from there, I started doing more videos, and yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I'm able to do it every week. It's just like, it's fun. It's like, sometimes I get a little bit intimidated by who I have on the show. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know
bro,
if you watched.
oh yeah, we're about to talk about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but go ahead.
But yeah, no, it's I'm just surprised that people are coming on it every week. I'm so thankful and excited that like I get to interview some of the people that I've interviewed thus far. Like, it's like I literally do, like, I pinched myself about it. It's nuts.
Well, and that's the thing I want to talk. So, aside from me, you've had other very famous,
Other
notable people,
famous.
other famous notable people aside from myself. I mean, this wasn't last week. I think it was maybe the week before, or maybe in the week before that. But you want to tell? I'll let you tell everyone who you had the honor of interviewing on the show.
Well, I had this is still I watched the episode. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't know how I did. I don't know if for the show Chopped. I'm a big fan of the show Chopped. I've always been. Judge on the show, Monique Chohan, who's just a lovely woman. She's not only on television, she's just a full-blown restaurateur, chef, consultant. She does so much. And yeah, she was on the show 2 weeks ago. We've been in talks for a while about it, and I just couldn't believe that she agreed to do it. And I was so nervous, and it was like I was really starstruck. Not that I wasn't before. I have been, but with her, I was like, I was just in awe, and she was so sweet, and it couldn't have been more fun than it was.
Yeah, and I mean, she seemed like a genuinely nice person. But I think what a lot of people like, and the reason she probably didn't have a problem coming on the show, is you make things very like relatable. Like, and even like MikeTails, it doesn't seem like a very strict. Like, you have clearly written out ahead of time, like, what you want to ask. But in those gaps, in the in between, you're just kind of like, you're there. You're just having a conversation with people, and I think that's what people really like about certain shows.
Thanks,
And
man.
I think, I mean, the fact that you got her was unbelievable. Like, when I saw you post that, like, oh, this is gonna be my guest, I was just like, fuck. I'm like, really? I was like, Jesus,
I was like that. I
oh
just,
my God.
yeah. I mean, it was nuts, and she's so cool, and like people really responded to her really really well, and just got excited about it, and it made me happy because again, like, just being able to talk to these people is just such a reward for
Yeah.
somebody who's such a nerd about food, and I thought I sounded like a complete idiot talking to her, but apparently I didn't, and that's cool. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
So that's a win-win for me, and I was just stoked, and I still am stoked about it.
It's just, yeah, it's amazing, and it's awesome, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's. You're recording, right? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, I have comedian actress Rachel Feinstein tomorrow,
Nice.
and she's hilarious. So that'll be cool. Barring any crazy shit that's going to go down in the next 12 hours or whatever.
Yeah, so for those of you, this is not going to be released on the night, but for those of you listening and or watching on my YouTube channel that nobody fucking visits,
Oh, that's
this is election night, actually. So Mike and I figured what better way to kill time until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard till the results start pouring in to try to ease our nerves a little bit.
as I pour more bourbon.
So tell me about the bourbon. I'm actually, as you may know, as we've talked about, I am a complete bourbon slut. Like, I love bourbon, and I've been drinking bourbon for years. That was one of the first hard alcohols my dad had me try when I was a kid.
I love that.
Yeah, it was like when I was like super young. He was like, "Here, you need to try this." Not like but yeah, he wasn't like giving me a bottle like, "Let's go,"
No, yeah.
But like,
I don't judge.
I think it's kind of cool that he introduced it to me when I was super young, because he's really passionate about bourbon. Like, he has very specific tastes, and he was always kind of like on a mission to find like the best bourbon that didn't cost like $50-$60. You know what I mean? And because you can do that. And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how, I mean, alcohol clearly, But
Yeah,
I mean,
I just drink it.
within the past like 10 years, there was this bourbon that he found. I want to say almost like, yeah, probably a decade ago, and he brought it home, and it was like $24 for like a liter. He was like, "You got to try this."
Ooh.
And I looked at it, and I saw the name, and I saw Weller. I'm like, "Oh, that that doesn't sound like much. Whatever." I drank it, and I'm like, "This tastes like it was a fucking $50 bottle. It's insane."
Yeah.
Now, if any liquor stores can get it, the liters I've seen the special reserve ones go for like $86. Like, because people caught on. They were just like, "Oh, this is one of the best tasting bourbons." Like,
Your dad's like a trailblazer.
that's why. So I just like now I just pay attention to what he drinks like very
Yeah,
carefully.
I love that.
You know? But I love bourbon. So tell me about what you're drinking. Tell me about the bourbon that you're.
Well, I am so a little bit of a story with this, but I'm drinking Russell's Reserve, and I had never had this. And actually, I guess it's tied back to MikeTails because a couple months ago, I guess I'll call it season 1 of MikeTails, I had Marianne Eves on the show, and she's Kentucky's first female master distiller.
That's right. I saw that show. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She
Another
was
just
awesome. Yeah, she was
complete
great.
gem of a person, delight. So like such a rock star in the industry. I asked her what I should drink, and she had told me Russell's. She said there was a Russell single barrel. I couldn't find it, so I found this instead, and it was like this is like maybe I feel like this was like $50, but which I don't like. I don't normally spend that.
That's
on,
about
on,
like
on
my
liquor.
unless it's something special. That's like my cap usually. That's like I'll spend
Yeah.
about up to that because after that
Yeah.
I'm just like it's not you're just
And yeah, I don't really like to spend over $50 on a wine, liquor, or anything.
right.
But I gotta say, it's really, really good.
Good.
And I thank you, Marianne, for introducing me to this. It's a great bottle. It's super smooth and just really nice to drink neat. I'm actually drinking it on the rocks, which I don't do a lot anymore. But I figured, hey, like I should water it down a little bit. It's a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's true. I started being a hero and adding ice in the past couple of years because I came to love bourbon so much that I would hate the ice. And I tried the whiskey stones a couple times. I don't care what anyone tells me; those don't work. They work for like a few minutes, and then it's just kind of like you just have rocks in your drink. It's like unless I have just been buying the wrong kind, I have not been able to find some that even if I keep them in the freezer for a week, they don't like stay consistently kind of cold. And
Right.
it's like it's frustrating, but I kind of like bourbon that's like a little bit like room temp. Like recently
Same.
I add ice because, like you said, it's a Tuesday, and I'm like, well, I got to wake up at 6 a.m. I can't. But I don't know. I like it when it's like a little bit room temp because I feel like the aromas and the flavors come out a little more.
I
Like
agree.
bourbon, unlike Scotch whiskey or unlike just bullshit like American whiskey, whatever. It's got like a little bit of sweetness to it, which is it's not like sugary. Like crappy bourbons can be like sugary, but bourbon has this like very subtle sweetness, and I feel like that actually comes out a little bit more when it's a little warmer because when it's not shocking your tongue with all the taste buds, you can actually like allow the different flavors to hit different places in your mouth.
Totally.
And I mean that's why like when I drink single malt Scotch, like very good Scotch, which is rare, I usually go for Lagavulin, which has been a favorite of mine. My wife I wanted to try it for like years, and then one birthday my wife got it for me, and I was just like, it tastes like you're swimming inside of an oak barrel. That's the only way I can describe it. And that bottle will cost like easily $80, but it's not something that you buy every fucking day unless
it's special.
Yeah, and it's not the same as like Johnny Walker Blue. Johnny Walker Blue is like it's a blended Scotch, and blended Scotch is different than single malt.
Right. I haven't done a Scotch episode yet, and I'm we should probably do that.
If we can do that and we can arrange and if you can get Lagavulin, I mean, I don't know if you drink single malt at all, but
I don't really ever drink Scotch, to be honest. I feel like I don't know a lot about Scotch. I'm intimidated by it probably just because I've had bourbon's always been like my thing, and now rye.
Rye is good. Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really like dove into like the Scotch world, and I want to because it's so cool. It's like complex.
It's a whole other world when you go there. Like if you have like Macallan stuff like that, like all like single barrel ones, and
right.
I don't know. Bourbon, I feel like is a little bit more accessible. I mean, now that was another question I had actually was since MikeTails. I mean, you obviously have drank alcohol before in your life, but now that you do it weekly, as systematically. We don't want to call either of us alcoholics.
It's either red in my face now. No.
Some people would call us alcoholics, but no, I'll say systematically. That's a nice word for it.
2020, anything goes.
There you go. That's it. So since you started doing MikeTails and started really making cocktails and trying different, maybe like bitters or different flavors and stuff like that, what is there an alcohol that you never really tried or didn't like kind of care for, and now you're like you kind of seek it out sometimes? You know, is there anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, not that I didn't like it, but tequila.
Which we did.
Tequila,
right?
I believe we did. Yeah.
Yeah, for an episode.
So we definitely did. Yeah. So tequila was something, and I've said this before on the show, like I always kind of attach tequila to memories that I've had that have been
Horrible.
Bad memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just bad memories of taking shots and just, you know, of gross, like Cuervo, or even like, you know, what's the one that everybody, like the really Patron, like, yeah. It was never good, never a good thing. And until actually COVID. And that's actually when I started doing these videos with tequila, because I was reading about it. People were telling me more about it. I was kind of trying to educate myself on tequila, which tequila to buy. And I bought that bottle of Milagro that we worked that I actually used in our episode. And my mind changed completely. And I started making margaritas at home because we weren't going out to bars. And like, yeah, tequila just kind of turned into a thing that I really have grown to admire.
And, you know, after that episode, I had never really had Milagro before. And I was kind of similar with tequila for a while.
Yeah.
If I did buy it, once Casamigos came out, I tried that and I was like, oh, this is really good, you know. And because Casamigos is what's his name?
George Clooney.
George Clooney's, yeah.
Yeah.
So I bought it just for
haven't had him on yet, but
no,
you know,
not yet, but you will, believe me. You got to work you know, you'll work your way up.
Yeah.
to Clooney eventually. But
I'll have his cousin on or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like this is George Clooney's stand-in for two of his movies.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually started buying Milagro after that because it's cheap and it's really fucking good and it's smooth. And,
it's so smooth.
You know, I used to just like, you know, kind of like down the hatch with tequila, like you said, right? It was more there as like a workhorse. It was there to like get something done. You know, it wasn't like always enjoyable. And then as I got older and as I started trying, you know, like white tequila and like other kinds, I started just drinking it with like ice and lime, you know, or like lime juice and lime and just like
I do that too.
And sipping it. And I remember, what was it? It was July 4th, I want to say in like 2018 maybe. I got a bottle of Casamigos. My wife and I were hiding inside from the heat. We had the AC blasting. I was still sweating. And I got Casamigos, the white one. I put it in a cup. I had a giant ice cube and I just squeezed in a fresh lime and put a slice and a chunk of lime. And it was the best cocktail I had in a very long time. It was just
Dude, I that makes me really happy because I like margaritas. They're good, but like, you know what? You don't need triple sec, you know, or simple syrup or sour mix to make a good drink. That's all you need is good tequila, some ice, and lime, and you're straight. That's it. Like that's perfect. And I'd actually rather have that than a margarita. I mean, I like margaritas, sure, but like, I don't know. I feel like I just like I make them for myself. I'm like, oh, they're good, but I'd rather just get this out, you know, and
exactly.
like, I don't know.
If you want it out, you want it done, like, you know, like done up, you know what I mean? And
totally.
I mean, and the simple cocktails, I think it's more about like just finding an essence or something that goes into it that kind of complements whatever you're drinking. And like for what started early on was like my dad's been doing that for years. He'll just fill up a glass with ice. He would pour in bourbon and then he would kind of twist the peel of a blood orange and just drink bourbon with blood orange. That's how That's how I got introduced to blood orange. And
your dad is the coolest person in the world, by the way. Just so we could say that. Yeah.
He wanted me to ask you because I told him I was recording with you. He was like, how does he post all that shit and he doesn't weigh 300 pounds? I don't get it. He was like, all that stuff looks so good.
290.
No, you don't weigh 290.
I don't know.
But no, he said your posts are just like completely drool worthy. Just like, oh god.
Well, I have a funny tidbit about your dad actually and your parents. I don't know if he remembers this, but when I was a teenager, I worked at Seatown in Eastchester, New York.
Oh wow, so you really know my dad.
Because I look at pictures of your dad and I remember your dad shopping there.
He's still to this day. He still does. Yeah.
Country markets, and I remember ringing him up, and he was always very nice. I didn't know his overt interest in food or liquor at the time. I had probably just started drinking at that time. I was 17, So, but yeah, no, I have very fond memories of your parents coming into Seatown Country Markets.
That's
Full
awesome.
disclosure.
No,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, they still go there, and yeah, I mean, he's the one. My parents were really the ones, especially my dad, got me involved and interested in like harder liquor, and he
Like a good parent should.
exactly, yeah, and along with my mom, my dad a lot, but along with my mom, he really took the reins and taught me how to cook. He taught me how to use a
Yeah,
knife
I'm
when I
sure.
was really young,
That's amazing.
and that's why I started cooking meals for them when I was, before I was even a teenager in some cases.
I love
Um,
that.
and yeah, it's just it's nice to grow up. I think appreciating like the culinary kind of arts because like it's for some people like I have relatives and I have friends that are not like that. They just eat it for like fuel. They don't care what they put in.
Right.
Especially like I have somebody I know who's like he's like a fitness person and it's just more about shoving
Eat
something
to
into
live.
exactly eat to live, get it going. And
Yeah.
I can't be like that. Even the times
Nah.
that I've altered my diet because like a couple of years back I still do, but I had problems with like cholesterol because of hereditary things. So thanks, mom.
Yeah.
Um, and stuff like that. So I had to really alter my diet. I had to stop eating meat. I had to stop eating cheese, stuff like that.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck it. I'm like, I've been losing weight. Let me just try and eat like a straight like protein, whatever. And it was miserable. Like I hated it. I don't
It's
understand how
tough.
people do that.
Yeah.
And and that was when I had my friend Jess Lopez. She's a fitness trainer in the city, and what I love about her is that she's in better shape than most people you'll meet, and she does this amazing weightlifting stuff. She works at a UFC gym,
Oh,
but
wow.
she never really compromises what she eats. I mean, she makes these incredible tacos with ground beef and fresh ingredients. She makes her own tortillas from scratch with a
Wow.
press and masa. Like she's
Damn.
never compromised. Like just because she's putting good food into her body, she's along the lines of thinking with me where if you're going to do that, you don't really have to compromise it being tasty. Like you can
Right.
do meal prep and still make your food taste good. I get
Right.
that it's like it's easier to just throw grilled chicken in with brown rice and not season it and just like throw it in whatever. But why would you what I
Blech.
mean? Like I guess that whole thought process of just doing it for fuel never really kind of stuck with me. But maybe
I'm the same. I'm the same way. Growing up, I think you and I both grew up in Italian American households, and
yes.
food was always sort of a very big part of every day.
Oh yeah.
And my mom would always be cooking. My dad too sometimes, but yeah, I mean, it was always kind of a thought process, and then like almost like a conversational aspect when you're eating. You talk about it. I would ask my mom what the ingredients were. I would be
Right.
very intrigued by everything that went into what she was cooking, and I would appreciate it. And I still, I mean, even like my wife cooks, and I want to know like what's in it, like what was the inspiration behind it. There's always a story, right? Like, and that's, I think, like if you appreciate the story of a meal, you're thinking differently than a lot of people probably. But
Probably, yeah.
but I that's how I live my life too, every day.
Which was great. I mean, that was the whole thing was that I mean, my dad always made it a point when he was cooking to be like, come here. And he's like, so this is what you do. And he would just start explaining every single little aspect of like the prepping. And it's like, and the reason that you let it saute first and cover it is that by the time it's done, and it's just like,
I
he
love
would
that.
explain every single process. So what it did was like, give me this crazy appreciation for food. And
Yeah.
once I decided to really, really start taking cooking a little more seriously and try to at least, amplify my own skills. I'm not saying I'm a chef. I'm not a chef. I don't call myself a chef ever.
I think you're
But
a chef.
no, I'm a cook. I'm a cook who's maybe better than average, but I'm not. But I haven't gone to school. I haven't earned the title.
You don't have to go to school. I mean, but going to school is fine. It's great,
Right.
but I consider you to be a chef. That's just me.
Thank you, that's high praise. Thank you. So here, while we're still kind of in the realm of MikeTails, all right, best cocktail for the summer and best cocktail for the winter.
Best cocktail for the summer, and most people probably won't like this, but I don't really care, is a pina colada.
There you go. Okay.
Frozen pina colada, preferably in a pineapple. Also preferably with maraschino cherries, not the good ones,
no,
the shitty ones.
The shitty maraschino with the syrup, like still
with the syrup,
yeah,
on top with a little red juice. But you have to have a floater. Without a floater, it's not.
It's not.
There's no point. You might as well be drinking a milkshake or something.
Right. Exactly.
So, pina colada with a floater in a pineapple, cold as fuck. That's my ideal summer drink.
Okay. And for the winter, I know we're not there yet, but I mean, you have had alcohol in the winter
And
before,
I'm in
so
Florida. It's hard for me to think about that.
I know.
And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love the cold weather so much.
Yeah.
In the winter, I would say something like, man, that's a tough. I mean, I guess anything with bourbon or whiskey, right? You want to do
Yeah.
like a
You want to do
Manhattan, a
something? Yeah.
Manhattan.
Okay, Manhattan, a Manhattan, or maybe even like an old fashioned, something like that.
Yeah, I like Manhattans a lot. I mean, I like the sort of they have a to me like a Manhattan sweet, but it's like brooding. Like it has that velvety kind of. It's like a little coat.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so Manhattan would be my winter go-to.
I think I'd
I
have
think of
to.
winter in Manhattan. Like
Okay.
that to me is like the ideal. I miss New York so much. I think about New York every day.
I'm
Like
sure. Yeah. Well, you lived in Queens. I mean, you were right in the hub of it too. You know, you had access
yeah,
to. You were on the same strip of an island there with some of the best food the city has to offer in Queens and Brooklyn,
yeah.
and and you were not far from fucking Manhattan. Like, oh my God, I think I was talking about this with the girl that was on last episode, Tiffany,
Mm,
and she's got a food page and she's based mainly in like Stamford, Norwalk.
okay.
And we were saying how like out there's certain things like or like I live in northern Westchester, so like
Yeah,
there's certain cuisines that you kind of have to seek out around here or when you're not in the city. When you're in Queens, Brooklyn, when you're in Manhattan, you have to realize you have access to some of the most like varied food options that anyone in the country does, you know?
yeah. Queens especially. I think
Queens
just Queen
especially, yeah.
to me, Queens is like the epicenter of international cuisine, and there's
Right.
from just amazing Chinese food to incredible Mexican food,
Right.
Indonesian. You have, I
Korean
mean,
food in Flushing. If
Korean.
you go to Flushing,
There's
it's like,
Filipino. There's Balkan. I mean, there's so much, and it's like it's a subway trip away, and not even. Sometimes it's you walk down the street and you can get
yeah.
something like, it's exotic and amazing, and that's to me like living in Queens or even in Brooklyn. Like what an amazing place. And now that I'm in Florida, I'm like, wow, I miss those like sort of divey
I'm sure.
spots where you can
Yeah.
just pick up something for $3 and take you away to another part of the world. Like I miss that immensely. Not that you don't have that here, you do, but it's New York has that sort of gritty kind of option.
Right. It's like quick and fast access too. And it's like
Yeah, it's
that's
so cheap.
yeah, exactly. I mean it's and I mean you can certainly get food that is, very expensive in New York, but you have so many options to not, I mean
Yeah,
that's really the brilliance of
people
it.
talk about like fine dining and yeah, no, I'm sorry. You actually there was a bit of a pause there. That's why I
Okay,
talked over
sorry.
you. I apologize.
No,
But
no, no, it's fine.
they like fine dining and stuff like that in New York is always something. I mean, I appreciate it, but dude, if I can pick anything to eat, it'll be going to Flushing,
Right.
going to the New World Mall, or going to like a little stand that serves dumplings that some 73-year-old grandmother is making, with her hands. Like
Right.
that is what a treat. Like
Well, I'm starting to notice a theme on my podcast now when I talk to people that have food Instagrams or people that are just food people. I mean, do you agree that like it's all look, it's always nice, especially when you're looking at a picture of food, right? It's
mhm.
always nice to look at something that looks like a work of art, right? We all would love to plate like that. I've tried it before, it's fun. But I think what really sparks joy and what really kind of brings out relatability with people and makes things wholesome is when they're looking at something that like they know what it tastes like, you know what I mean? Like if you get let's say you go get like like I don't know like a Cuban sandwich somewhere, right?
Mhm.
And it was pressed down on the plancha and stuff like that, and it's just dripping with the cheese and you can see the pickles peeking through. Like people who have eaten that, like what that tastes like, about like the warmth when you bite in mixed with like the cold of the pickles and the crunch. And like or like if you see a pizza and the pepperonis are nice and curled up because it means it was like sliced from an actual stick, you know what I mean? Like
Roni cups, yeah.
yeah, man, like what this stuff tastes like. And I feel like I'm noticing is like the real things that people appreciate and the stuff that like people have really loved on things that like I've posted that you've posted are things that they know and things that they can kind of relate to. I mean, like it's nice to see a plate of, duck confit that's plated beautifully with like a spread on the bottom and a glaze. And
Mhm.
if you ever get to yourself to a French restaurant, that's awesome. But
Sure.
I would much prefer like French street food. Like I was in Paris and I had a croque madame like
Mhm.
at in Paris, and it was just it was great. I mean, my wife and I we were in Paris for our honeymoon, and we spent 5 or 6 days there, And
Wow.
the last night we went to a really nice bistro. I had roast duck. She had this amazing beef dish. It was plated beautifully. But honestly, like the best meal that we had there was we just got like 2 wood-fired pizzas that were
Hmm.
made around the corner from the Eiffel Tower. We went to the park in the Eiffel Tower and we just drank wine and vodka and ate fucking pizzas.
I
And
love it.
that was like, and it was the best date night ever. And it was the best food ever. And I feel like street food like that, it connects people with what they know. And I'm starting to realize like you would imagine Instagrams that like blow up as being, these plates of these works of art that you would never aspire to kind of do. But what really captures people, I feel like, is when they look at something and they're just like, yeah, man, like, like I know what that feels like, like I know what that tastes like. And I'm starting to realize that like with social media influencers, and I don't know how you feel about this, I think when you're able to post something that people can really relate to, that's when you really kind of grasp it, because you're putting out something that's part of their lives. And so in a way, they need other people to kind of post in order to kind of bring them back to their own like memories and their own like senses that they like, tastes and all that shit. And you know I don't know,
I
but,
Yeah, no. I 1,000,000% agree with you. Basically, every time somebody kind of talks about this to me, and I have a conversation about it, it all goes back to one thing. Um, it's the emotion. Food for me is the emotional connection that you have to it. Whether it's something beautifully plated, which I don't really have much of an emotional connection to fine dining because I just didn't grow up eating at fine dining spots.
right.
But whether it's that or whether it's a sandwich or something, usually for me it's a sandwich,
Yeah.
but I think back to the last thing I posted on Instagram was a sandwich, but I think back to the film Ratatouille, like the
Oh,
cartoon animated movie.
like one of my,
And
yeah.
yeah, so like you have this French kid who doesn't know how to cook and he learns how to cook through a rat. It's a little silly, whatever. However, one of the final scenes of that film resonated with me more than anything in any other movie is when the food critic, who's a big snob who only likes fine dining, sits down and he's presented with this plate of ratatouille. Now, ratatouille is peasant food, so
It is, yeah.
he's sort of scoffed at it. But he sits down and he has this plate of ratatouille and he takes a bite of it. And I get choked up every time I talk about it, literally. I'm
Yeah.
getting choked up now a little bit. But it takes him back to, like his mother.
Yeah.
And that to me is like,
It's beautiful. It
yeah,
really is. I mean, because that's what it's all about. It's all
yeah,
about cooking things that, you know, touch people in a certain way. And to
yeah,
do that, you have to kind of tap into what people really, really love. It's
yep,
always going to be fun to go to a restaurant that you're paying way too much money for, eating something you never would have eaten, looks beautiful, great. You know what? It's more of an
yeah.
experience. It's kind of
And
like
I
going
never
out.
regret that. I
Right.
never have buyer's remorse
No,
with food
exactly.
ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ever. But I think it's better when you eat something that just completely takes you back to like your childhood, or you eat
Hmm.
something that just completely like fills you with this like wholesome, warm, amazing like memory. And like that's what I feel like trendy food is transitioning into. Like a lot of these places have simplified the ingredients that go in and they focus more on what they source instead of trying to find the newest truffle trend, right?
Yeah.
Like the newest spin-off on whatever black truffle
Truffles are
oil.
so fucking overrated. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like truffles have their place, but the
Sure.
infusion of truffles had just gotten out of hand at one point. It
Truffle
was like,
oil, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't want your dish doused in truffle oil. I
right,
have no
exactly.
interest, so yeah.
And but yeah, anyway, so I mean that was one thing I noticed. So all right, back to a question as we start to kind of go on the resolution here. Kind of an interesting one. I don't know, you definitely might hopefully not throw you off. If you could have one guest on MikeTails who's dead, one dead guest, who would you want to interview and have a cocktail with and talk with for an hour?
That's a good question. Jeez. I asked that question sort of on my show, like in a way, and I'm always fear that I'm going to be asked that question because it's such a good question. I'm not going to answer it with somebody that I know because that's just to me, that's like a cop out.
Right.
You said a meal or a drink?
Drink, but just like
Drink.
how you do MikeTails, like bring somebody on, talk
Yeah,
with them, and
yeah.
then while you're talking, make a cocktail.
Oh, I know who it would be.
Yeah.
It would be Joe Strummer.
Got you from the Clash. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Just because, I mean, right now especially, just because to me, out of most people, he was such a guy of the world that I just want to hear his view on everything. He seemed so like just zen and chill and yeah, it would be Joe Strummer, definitely.
I did not expect that. That's awesome. That's it. Which
Yeah.
also leads me into one thing that you and I connect on a lot. Similar taste in music. You are a crazy huge ska punk fan.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Which I love because I was in a ska punk reggae band, and I grew up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we were called Short Bus, and we were like in the very beginning, it was like one guy described this as like the Ramones and Bob Marley who had a baby, and then
Man,
towards the end of it, it was like early Chili Peppers, like hardcore kind of funk.
I love that, like Fishbone, sort of.
Yeah, yeah. And it was great. I mean, that kind of music to me, it's always been about like positivity, and it's always just been about like, even if there's like a serious message, right? Like, you had on somebody who I love from the band The Suicide Machines, and
Jay Navarro. Yeah,
and you had, and he, his songs can be very political and they can be, very serious, and they've always kind of been like that. But even that, it just gives off this like kind of good, like happy kind of vibe, and it gets people energetic. And
we need that now more than anything. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I used to love the song High Anxiety too, because I grew up playing Tony Hawk.
I just listened to it. Yeah, I love that.
I grew up playing Tony Hawk, and then he went on, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, it's so fucking great.
Man.
So, but that's
you need to watch they just did a Halloween live stream.
Oh,
sorry, but you need to watch it. It's so good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
And
you are possibly the biggest Mighty Boss Tones fan in the entire world. Possibly. How many times have you seen them live?
Probably it's in the 80s.
Jesus fuck, 80 something times.
Yeah, they mean everything to me. I have a Boss Tones tattoo.
Nice.
And it kind of escaped me in my 20s, but they mean the world to me, and they just, talk about positivity and bringing the world together, and they've always just been about that, and I love them. I love them so much.
And it's just, I mean, they've always just pumped out like incredible music too. I mean, it's always just been fun to listen to, and it's just like the horns, like everything, just like it just like explodes. Like I love that.
Yeah,
oh, God.
Live they're just it's just.
I can imagine anything live. Yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, all right, as we start coming towards a close here, one thing I do with everyone that's on, all right, I've done this for a while. You're familiar with the game from grade school, Fuck, Marry, Kill, right?
Yes.
So I do Fuck, Marry, Kill, but I do it with food and meals.
Okay, I like that.
All right, so if you could have like one meal where you just have like a dirty one-night stand with, right? And then another meal that you would just spend the rest of your life with, and then something that you never have to have ever again.
All right, that's a good question. All right, so fuck, marry, kill. I think if I'm gonna fuck a food, it would be like just a really, really dank burrito. Just give me like I want it to be greasy. I want it to be just lush and perfectly layered and cheesy, and just it makes you feel like you want to die after, but it's so worth it. It's kind of like when you have a one night stand. You want to die after. Usually, you're
exactly.
Like,
you're not
why?
Gonna do it every day. Yeah.
Yeah,
the next morning you're just crying in the bathroom.
Yeah, and actually, if I'm going to specify a burrito it would be from La Masita they're actually in Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To name drop, but their burritos, I dream about them. I miss them so much. Yeah, Al Pastor burrito. That's it. Fuck.
Oh God, with the pork and the pineapple.
Oh, so good, and it's just they're just so good. All right. Marry.
Yeah, something that every day for the rest of your life, if you could.
Yeah. I would say orecchiette with spicy sausage and broccoli rabe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that like just speaks to me.
Right. It's something that and it's something you wouldn't mind. Like it's a weird question, and you would think that people aren't like this, but there's something that all of us wouldn't mind just eating once a day for the rest of our life. Like,
dude, I've had it for breakfast. I've had it for lunch. I've had it for dinner. Literally, right. I've had it cold for breakfast. It's just those flavor combinations. I feel like you get a little bit of that every day in your life, but there's umami, there's sweetness, there's bitter, there's fat. It's just the perfect blend of ingredients.
Perfect mix, right?
I love it. Kill.
Yeah, something you could go the rest of your life without ever having again.
Stuffed cabbage.
Really?
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I could see that. There's nothing really too exciting about that. I mean, I'm sure there's people, who love it.
It just doesn't do it. I don't know, man. Like, the texture of it doesn't do it for me. The flavor usually, I don't know. And I think about it like I want to like it, but I just never do.
Yeah, that's. And
So I'm
you know
gonna
what's funny?
kill it.
I actually like that, and I'm kind of still am like that. Ironic with peppers, but sweet peppers, which sounds weird
Yeah.
because I've been eating straight jalapenos for years. As you know, I make a hot sauce, and every time I make
Oh,
my
it's
hot
so
sauce,
good. It's
I
so
eat.
good.
Thank you. I eat a
Yeah.
habanero every time I cook my hot sauce. It's like my ritual.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
yeah, because I'm older, I can't do drugs anymore, so this is what I do. You know, you eat a habanero, you get a little
You
loop.
don't have kids
Um,
yet. You can still do drugs.
yeah, just like quietly.
Yeah. I'm just kidding,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I for some reason from when I was young, sweet peppers used to just like make me gag. Ever since I moved out and I moved in and I got with my wife and I started cooking for not just myself, I do eat them now and I kind of like them, but it's still like just kind of like if somebody was like you can't ever have a bell pepper for the rest of your life, I'd be like, cool, but
I agree with
it's like
that. Yeah. I think the only thing I really like sweet peppers in is sausage and peppers.
right, but that's blended into the grease of the sausage and the
Right.
oils that come out from the sausage and the preserves and that
It
it's
flavors
like
them.
right. And I mean
They're filler.
even like one of my favorite snacks, something that my dad actually before I moved out, one of the things that he started doing was Seatown actually would get these beautiful shishito peppers
Oh
and
wow.
he would heat up a cast iron that he had ripping hot, just throw them in olive oil and then salt after, and that's it. And they get like
Oh
black and
man.
charred
Yeah.
shishito peppers because they're not that
Dude.
hot. But I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. But I mean,
That's very very nice little snack. That's like an
oh
elevated. I like that.
yeah, it's
Your
nice.
dad again. Your dad. Like
Yeah,
what a guy.
I know he's killing it. I know I gotta try to have him on one day.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say.
but yeah. So I don't know. I mean, again, this is. I mean, it's been great to not only do this episode, but just in general, kind of get to know you a little bit better because we. I don't know if we ever actually met in person. Have we met in person?
We
Maybe. Well,
probably have
probably when I was like 10 and you were at Seatown.
30 or something. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we probably have. I mean, we are from the same town.
Well,
I knew your brother.
and I knew your brother. I knew John.
Yeah,
I used to skate with him,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and yeah, so I just but it's weird because it took years after that and a social media platform for you to start like connecting with people
And a
that
pandemic.
and a pandemic to
we
really
couldn't hang
start
out together.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I feel like I've started to do that more, and I don't know how you feel about it, but now with the forced separation from everybody, it kind of makes you reevaluate people maybe that you've come into contact with who you just never you never saw in person. You each led your own lives, and now that everyone was kind of like like steady in one place, I feel like it kind of opened up opportunities for all of us. I feel
I
like
agree.
you explored more with your food page and you were able to do other things. And like, I was able to start cooking more and like explore, like back to what we were talking about, the pandemic for me. And I don't know what it was, about with you, but for me, as far as cooking, I started thinking like, I want to challenge myself, but not like, oh, what's the craziest meal I can make? Like, what am I missing like from the fundamentals? Like what's something that's just like a fucking staple, like a basic that I maybe never even made, right? Like
Right.
I tried making the hell was it? Like, all right, I made my own hot dog buns, right?
That's insane, by
Yeah,
the way.
bread,
Yeah.
yeah, but bread was a big thing. Like I had baked it a couple times and then during the pandemic, everyone was kind of doing like banana bread and stuff, but I was like, you know what? I want to make like ciabatta. I want to make sandwich rolls. I made baguette.
Yeah.
Like, I made fucking focaccias like out the wazoo.
It's insane. I love it.
And right now I'm actually in the middle. I have a sourdough starter that I'm feeding and growing. So I'm gonna attempt sourdough.
I tried. I failed miserably.
That's a
Yeah.
whole fucking other thing. That's like oh my god. Like my friend Dylan was deep into it. He did it for months on end. And because once you get a starter growing, it just lasts forever. It's just
Yeah. I still don't really understand the whole thing with it. I'm such a layman's
it's
when
so
it comes
weird.
to that
It's
stuff.
like the idea with a starter is like you take equal parts of flour and water to begin, right?
Hmm.
And you allow that to kind of grow and start to ferment. After it starts to kind of get bubbly and grow, you pour out half of the starter, and then into what's left in the jar, you add equal parts flour and water. What you're doing is that's called feeding it. And you're basically making something that helps the bread have a tang, it helps it grow, and it acts almost like as an extra yeast. Like when you make sourdough, you don't need yeast because you've got that as the source for like growing. And so and it gives it this like amazing like tang. It's very temperamental as
Nice.
far as though you got to control the temperature, like all that shit. But
I'm
for
sure.
me, during the pandemic, I started looking at all this stuff and I was like, what's like fundamental and like basic that I was really like missing? You know what I mean? Like what's
Yeah.
something that, and like, ratatouille, something that I made as well, which
Nice.
you were right. It's like a peasant dish and it's so good. It's just a
It's
stew.
so good.
It's like a veggie stew for people that
It's so
couldn't afford,
comforting.
yeah, it's like you eat it
It's a
and you're just
kitchen
like,
sink. Like,
right.
yeah,
Exactly.
I
And
love it.
which is our favorite meals. I mean, our favorite meals are like beef stew, chili, things like that, lentil soup, like things that just like, poor
Comfort food.
peasants for years. Yeah, just like this is all we have access to. And we started utilizing like the crock pot a lot more because aside from that, we both work full
Yeah,
time.
same.
It's just like it's amazing. Like I
Hmm.
I make rotisserie chicken a lot, and I
Nice.
started making a rotisserie rub, as you know, but the crock pot has been so
You are a
helpful.
chef, by the way. Just to get back to that. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Rotisserie rub. Like, I haven't cooked in like 4 months. You're like, it's amazing.
It's what, it's honestly it not only helped pass the time, but it also kind of helped me access, I don't know, it helped me access a more fundamental part of my brain, I think. Like back to like, all right, well, what makes this dish good? Or like why do
Right.
people like these things, And I say this all the time, but still to this day, the best meal that we love to have all the time. It was the first meal I ever cooked in our apartment when we first moved in together years ago. And it's just pasta aglio olio with just
Mhm.
garlic, oil, chili flakes, and pasta, maybe a little bit of parsley, but not even, just
Yeah.
spaghetti or linguine, and that's it with
That's
parmesan on top.
your Mary right there.
That's it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
we could eat that every day.
It's a
That's just
perfect pasta. It's so simple. It's so good. I love it.
exactly. I mean, it's because it's more about what you get, but
Balance.
balance exactly. But anyway, so thank you. I can't even begin to thank you enough.
Thank
Like I mean,
you.
and guys, I'm gonna put Mike's info in the description and when I post on Instagram. But it's very easy. Just go to at all the food is all for me. All one word. No dots, no underscores, nothing like that. Just
Nope.
at all the
No.
food is all for me. Great fucking username, by the way. Very easy to remember.
Thanks. A nod to the national. All the
Yeah,
wine is all for me.
there you go.
All the food is all for me.
But yeah. So guys, I'll put his links in the description. Mike, anything you want to shout out? Anything you want to plug? Any guests that you're having you want to promote one more time for MikeTails?
Yeah, I mean, well, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your show. This has been a blast. I got to say, like, I've learned a lot from you, and then the whole, just having this community is great. And your show is great. And thanks again. But yeah, no, I mean, basically tomorrow we're doing a MikeTails. Rachel Feinstein, comedian. She's so funny. I'm excited to talk to her tomorrow. And yeah, there's some fun stuff coming up with MikeTails. So tune in.
Awesome. Guys, you can find him on Instagram at all the food is all for me. Facebook.com, I believe, right? All the food is all for me.
I deleted the Facebook,
Oh,
but
the Facebook is gone. Okay.
yeah.
All right, so just stick with the Instagram, and guys, every week he's on MikeTails. It's live on Instagram, usually between the hours of like 5 and 7, right? Depending on the
Wednesday,
guest.
yeah. I try to keep it every
okay.
Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern
Okay.
Standard. Yeah.
Wednesday at 5s. And Mike, thank you so much. I
My
stopped the
pleasure.
recording. Guys, tune in. I'm going to have another guest in the near future, and I don't even know who it is, but I promise it won't be boring. And this has been Spicy Memories episode, I want to say 10, but I'm not 100% sure. And I'll see you guys next time. All right.